Guys, what we're going to do today is some shooting. Basically what we're going to do is focus on just the fundamentals of grip and trigger press, and we're going to go over the different actions of these guns here. We're going to put 5 rounds in each gun and shoot them at a distance of about 4 yards. It's not very far, it's just like kind of a combat distance. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not a bullseye shooter, so I don't shoot, I can't print a dime size group at 25 yards. I just can't do that. So what I wanted to basically show though is some of the stereotypes between actions, single action like 1911s, as opposed to double action, single action, and Glocks and whatnot. And people want to go on and say how much more accurate one gun is than the other. As far as combat accuracy, we're going to see if there's any truth to that, or if, with good fundamentals, if we can get all these to shoot good groups at basically a combat distance. So mechanical accuracy may be a little different once we get out past, say, 25 yards or so. There may be some slight mechanical accuracy advantage to, say, like a finely built, well-fitted 1911 as opposed to a Glock, but it's going to be so small that the percentage of shooters that would actually be able to shoot the difference of that or actually see it is really, really minute. I mean, we're talking maybe the top 4 or 5% of shooters that would actually see a mechanical difference, could get it to its mechanical limits. So anyways, guys, I'm going to set up here and we're going to start this test, and we're going to start off with a Dan Wesson 1911. Alright guys, first up we're going to shoot this Dan Wesson VBOB or Valor Bob in 9mm. This is probably arguably one of the best production 1911s as far as being a company, Dan Wesson. You have to really step up to a semi-custom before you get any more quality or better fitting parts. And I've seen Ed Brown's that I would put up against this all day long as far as fit and finish goes. Dan Wesson definitely holds his own in the 1911 category. So I'm going to go ahead and load up 5 rounds. I'm going to fire 5 rounds with a good grip, good trigger press, good sight alignment. We're going to see what kind of group we get, and I'm going to move down the line basically shooting different guns. So we got 3 1911s we're going to shoot on the top row. Then we're going to switch over to a double action, single action, and we're going to go, and I'll describe all the guns as we go. So we're going to start here. I'm going to go ahead and set this down for a second, put my ears on it, because it will get loud in here. So 5 rounds from about 4 yards with the Dan Wesson VBOB 9mm. That's 5 rounds. Like I said, that was a smooth take. There's almost no take up on a 1911. It's very crisp on this particular gun. If you shoot a gun okay, a striker fire gun okay, and you pick up a 1911, you shoot it better. It's not that the gun's so much more accurate. It's the trigger has such little movement. The trigger is actually setting the gun off before you put your bad input in it or your jerk. So really look at that. Look at your fundamentals. If you happen to pick up a 1911, shoot it better than the gun you shoot all the time. That shouldn't be the case. They are accurate. They are easy to shoot well, but they're almost, with that easy of a trigger pull, is almost a handicap. So like I said, if for some reason you're very, a lot better shooting 1911, look at your fundamentals if you're not shooting other guns the same. Okay, we're going to move on to a Springfield Range Officer Champion. It's a 4-inch bull barrel in 9mm. Hopefully I put these sights on straight. I just got this gun, or just did the Cerakote on it and tapped the sights back on, so hopefully they're square. But we're going to demonstrate the same thing. Same thing as Dan Wesson 1911 and 9mm. This is just a production sample. The trigger's okay on this. It's not great for 1911 standards, but it's definitely serviceable. So we'll see what kind of groups we get with this as we drop down kind of quality-wise in the 1911 world. That's 5 rounds from the Springfield Range Officer Champion. Now we're moving on to the Springfield range officer operator. This is basically a 5-inch version. This is again a kind of modestly priced 1911 in comparison to some. Definitely a good fit and finish on this gun, good trigger, definitely a serviceable gun. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing. We'll fire 5 rounds. The whole time we're practicing, good fundamentals, good trigger squeeze, good slide alignment, nice firm thumbs forward grip. We'll see what we can do with this. And that's 5 shots from the operator, 9mm. This is a Canik TP9SF. This is the one without the decocker button. I did circle the slide in a burnt bronze. If you look close, you can see that I modified the rear sight. I basically ground it down because if you watch my other video on clearing malfunctions, I basically cut a ledge into this sight. It comes as a steel sight, but it comes as a ramp. So I made it, just basically did that modification so it'll now grip onto anything that you have to clear this gun with, as far as a belt or a boot, something like that. But other than that, it's all standard parts. Nothing was done to the gun other than the paint on the slide and the rear sight. So we'll see what we get out of this. This is striker fired, so this is not a single action as far as a 1911 goes, so we're going to have to take up some slack. We're going to get to a wall and we're going to pull through it. So let's go ahead, if we practice fundamentals, and see what kind of grip we get with this gun. And I rode the slide release on that, or actually slide stop, so that's why we didn't get a lock back. So that was basically my fault. My thumb rode that. So it wasn't a malfunction of the gun, it was basically operator error on that. Alright, what we're going to cover now is the HK-P30. This is a totally different trigger system than anything we've shot up to this point. It's double action first pull, single action after that. So we got about a 12 to 14 pound sweeping pull for the first pull. After it goes off, we got probably about a 6.5. They probably rate it lighter, but it's about a 6.5 pound pull, whatever, right in there, single action. So same thing, if we practice fundamentals, we still should get a good group on target and not pull it off. So I'm going to decock it. And if you're at the range practicing with your double action, if you're going to carry it for any kind of serious use, home defense, something like that, this is how you need to practice. You need to decock that first round, and you got to practice that pull. A lot of guys won't do it because it's harder to shoot that way. But if it's going to be a defensive gun, that's the only safe way to holster this gun, and you have to practice that. So we're going to go ahead and try this. We're going to good grip, good fundamentals. We're going to, once we start our pull, we're going to make contact with the trigger, and we're going to pull all the way through. One speed. We're not going to stop at whatever wall. So we're going to pull. Now we're in single action. We're going to come back to reset. 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 Now we've got that's 5 rounds. So you see that first double action pull didn't handicap us because we practiced good fundamentals. We just basically started our stroke, pulled all the way back, all the way through that trigger pull. We didn't stop anywhere or pause because basically that's going to initiate or anticipate recoil. And anytime you stop, you know that gun's going to go off and you're going to squeeze it and you're going to get a pulled shot. We're going to move on now to another HK. This is an HK USP in 9mm. This is a very early version, actually it's first year of production, 4-digit serial number. So it doesn't have the polygonal rifling and stuff like that, but it's definitely still as accurate as all the other models. So we're going to do the same thing. This is a double. This can be carried cocked and locked, but we're going to start off double action. Same thing, because that's the hardest way to shoot this gun accurately is double action. It really tells you if you're on your fundamentals or not. So same thing. We're going to come out. We're going to get our sight alignment, sight picture, and we're going to slowly squeeze. And once we start to pull, we're not going to stop. We're going to reset. Reset. reset, reset. That was 5 rounds from that. So you can see that, same thing. Even though I had that 12 to 14 pound single pull and then back to a 6 pound short pull, my fundamentals are the same, so it doesn't handicap me in that second round or that transition to trigger. Okay, now we're going to go back to the striker fired setup. This is a Glock 19. You may have seen it on a video before. Same thing with like striker fired. What's good about it? It's the same trigger pull every time. While it may not be the best trigger pull as far as compared to like a 1911 or well to 1911, it's the same every time. There's no external safeties to disengage. Basically the same thing though. You're going to make contact with the trigger. You're going to start your pull and you're not going to change speed. You're going to get to a wall. It's going to firm up because you're taking up that slack. But you're going to pull right through it. You're not even going to care that starts getting hard. You're definitely not going to stop at that hard part and then squeeze through it, because what you're going to do, you're going to pull the shot. So same thing, we're going to practice good fundamentals. Thumbs forward, good grip, amen. Same thing, that was Glock 19, 5 shots. And we're gonna, as you can see, I definitely kind of pulled one a little to the left, and that was me. That was a bad trigger squeeze, so it goes to show you, even though it's not a huge flyer, it's still a flyer, and that was still not the mechanical accuracy of the gun. It was a bad trigger pull on my part. All right, and what we're gonna do is kind of for fun is a Glock 43 here. This one's Cerakoted. And it matches my eyes. So, but anyways, this one should be hard to shoot because it's single stack. It's thin. It's going to give you a lot of room to put a lot of finger in there in that trigger well. So you definitely want to have to make a conscious effort to keep it out, because the more you put in there, the more you want to push basically your sights over through your trigger squeeze. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a conscious effort where to place our finger. We're going to line up our sights and do the same thing we did with the Glock and what we did with everything else. Is we're just going to make contact, start our pull, and pull all the way through. And that was 5 rounds, and that was the same thing. I wrote the slide stop on that and didn't get a lock back. So we'll step up and we'll look at the targets here. So basically what we're looking at, from the high end, almost super production 1911 here, about a $1,600, $1,700 retail gun, to a Canik TP9, which is probably about a $360 retail gun. We see no discernible difference between single action, $1,600, $350 striker fired, $1,000 double action, single action HKP30, USP, 1911s. Even the 43 had a good showing there, Glock 19. So combat distances at basically at 4 yards. Like I said, guys, this isn't a test of a bullseye shooter. I'm not a bullseye shooter. I more focus on combat style shooting. And this is basically your defense ranges averages about 3 yards. This is about 4, what we're shooting at. So you can see they're plenty accurate for anything you need to do as far as a defensive situation. Whatever you shoot here will basically just amplify out. So if you can't get a good group at 3 or 4 yards, you definitely need to work on your fundamentals. And that's, like I said, good grip, sight alignment, sight picture. Squeeze that trigger all the way through. When it goes off, find that front sight is the next thing you see. So basically, if you fire 1 round, you see 2 sight pictures. You're going to find that front sight, bang, it's going to go off. The next thing you're going to focus on is that front sight again. Now, you're going to decide at that point if you need to take another shot or not, and that's up to you. But basically, you're going to have 1 more sight picture than rounds you fire. So you're always going to find that front sight after the shot. You're not going to want to look over the gun. It's kind of like pulling your head or something in a golf swing. You're not going to want to pull your head to look to see where that bullet went. You definitely want to find that front sight. Find that front sight, and then you can worry about what you need to look at. But you always want to find that front sight after the shot. So basically, I hope this helps you out, guys, as far as selection goes. You just got to work on them. You just got to work on your fundamentals. Any gun, any modern handgun that you prove to be reliable should be accurate enough out of the box for a defensive situation. You know, any quality handgun. So the debate is, as a 1911 is more accurate than an HK is more accurate than a 43. This right here, like I said, once you get to mechanical accuracies of the gun past 25 yards, that may be there is some truth to that, and I believe that. But I can't shoot to that point. I can't get to the mechanical accuracy of that gun. So for me, combat distance, none of these guns matter as long as I have my fundamentals down. So I hope you guys learned something on that, seen a little shooting or whatever, and see what these guns basically can do just with basic fundamentals. And like I said, I'm not a high-end marksman. This is something you could do too. You just got to get your fundamentals down. All right, guys, thanks for watching.